What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the happy hour in the land. I'm Gomer. That's the professor. This is a place where all Northeast Ohio sports fans can get together. We can talk sports. We can commiserate. We can do whatever we want. We can talk the draft, all while having our own liquid libations to kind of soothe ourselves. And so, Professor, what do you have today?
Awesome being here, Gome. Awesome being here on draft day. And yes, I absolutely have my drink here is my classic Lalo tequila, which I've turned into a nice spicy margarita. And because this is Cleveland happy hour in the land, I've got an extra one defrosting right next to us. Because God knows, Gome, you and I can get into some good conversations. But I just saw you pour. My friend, what are you having today?
I have the Dogfish Head Juicy Pale Ale. Yes. So this should be interesting. I have not had this one before. But again, if you're with us today and you have your liquid libations, remember, they don't have to be alcoholic, but if they are, drink responsibly. So cheers to you. Cheers to Cleveland. Cheers to the draft. Having a successful draft tonight for the Cleveland Browns.
There's been lots of conversation about the Browns in the NFL draft because we're one of 6 teams that got 2 picks in the first round. Excuse me. Number 6 and 24. We're going to talk about the national pundits, what they think first, but let's just get your 2 cents. What do the Browns need that you feel is the most pressing?
Well, of course, everyone knows. Everyone's been talking about the tackle, right? We need a left tackle. We have some tackles out there. Are they good left tackles or not? No one seems to think so. Of course, wide receiver has always been a big need of us, especially how Jerry Jeudy kind of dropped on his face this last year. Did not have a good year whatsoever. So looking for wide receiver. After that, it kind of goes downhill. It's kind of wide open on what we can get. CBS Sports has us interior. It says interior offensive lineman, cornerback, tight end, quarterback, running back, safety, and linebacker. Well, I don't know if I agree with all those, but that's what CBS Sports has us down for.
Okay, and I'm excited to compare what we have versus with the national pundits because obviously we're going to be better because we're more local guys. But I hear you say left tackle, and we're not sure really what it is. Is left tackle absolutely at the top for you, or is there anything else? Is it that far between left tackle and anything else for
I think left tackle is the biggest need, just because I think right now we have so our tackles, we have DeJuan Jones, right? But he hopes to play right tackle. We also signed a right tackle. So we have those two guys. I mean, I think DeJuan Jones could probably fill in and do left tackle if needed, but I just rather see a guy that's just a left tackle that can go out there and just dominate.
Okay, so I'm hearing you say we
That's
don't
what I
want
want.
another Jedrick Wilson conversation, right? Jedrick Wilson, remember starting right tackle for Alabama. We moved him over to left tackle. Didn't work out so good, right? And so if that's what you're saying, and I hear you, right? But that affects the draft, right? Going because the top offensive linemen are not true left tackle. So does that mean you're
Right.
looking at
Absolutely.
what Freeling from Georgia or the guy from Alabama?
Yeah, I would think either Proctor or Freeling would be to me. Those are the top tackles on the board. Those are the top tackles that would be out there. Is Freeling and Proctor would. I don't have those other guys rated as highly. Spencer Fanow, Francis Manoa. I have those guys under those two, but I do think that those would be the two that I would kind of be looking at when it comes to this
Okay,
draft.
so that goes straight to my point, right? We need left tackle. Of course, I agree with you. We redid the entire offensive line, but the left tackle. God bless him. DeJuan Jones just hasn't been healthy, right, to be over on the left hand side. And of course, we've talked about Monroe Freeling and Proctor from Alabama. A definite need for sure. But I only hear two from you, my man. And there are other teams that need a left tackle. I'm looking strongly at Detroit, if not for sure Detroit, if not some other people. So my question really becomes: is if left tackle is so extreme, Do you take a reach for Monroe Freeling or Caden Proctor at 6 just because you know that's a need? Or are you going to try and, outthink yourself, maybe try to pick one up with the 20?
Well, I guess there's differences in what I think, what I would do, what I think that Andrew Barry's going to do, and what I think will happen. I think there's three big
Very
differences
true.
there.
Very true. I was asking about you. I'm sorry. You're right. Very true. All 3 points. I was asking about you.
Yeah, no, and yeah, I just wanted to make sure I threw that out there because what I would think is not necessarily what I think is going to happen, but yeah, I would look at. I think the perfect scenario is to draft, trade down a few spots. Cowboys have been talked about out there. I heard Rams today at 13 is a possibility as well, at one of those two positions, to kind of fall back. Now you mentioned there's a lot of teams out there that like tackles. So our guys that we want might be gone by then. But hopefully they take Fenauer, Mo, and Noah, and then they keep the guys that I want back over 13 as well. But that's what I think would be the perfect scenario for the Browns, is to kind of, again, trade back a little bit and get one of those two guys.
Okay, trade back. Okay, so that's your perfect scenario, right? We don't want to just jump there yet, right? Because I just really want to kind of get an idea of what you agree, right, or what you think is we need. And left tackle for sure is a bit, but of course the national pundits are talking about more than just a left tackle. A lot of people are talking about wide
Mm-hmm.
receiver. I know you and I have talked about wide receiver. Of course, there's an absolute stud down just about 2 hours south, right, of Cleveland with Cardinal Tate. But this is a deep wide receiver class. And we just talked about um, the left tackle, right? I guess the first question is: Would you agree that you got to get a wide receiver in the first round, whether it's 1 or 24? It's 1 or 24. How about six or
That's what I would.
24? Sorry about that. 6 or 24.
We're trading up to one. No, I think it would be a great idea. There's so many wide receivers out there with so many high ceilings, and I think that we could get one of those at either 6 or 24. Now, what what I think out there is that what I think for the wide receiver position is, if you think that there's a wide receiver that can kind of be a game changer along the lines of Jackson Smith and Jigba, Marvin Harrison, Terry McLaurin, whatever, if you see a game changer out there that stands out, that might be the pick at 6. If you see that, if you think Carnell Tate's going to be that much better than KC Concepcion or some of the other wide receivers out there, Jordan Tyson, then I'd say go for that guy. If you see him as being a game changer like these other guys, because there could be the number one wide receiver off the pit. There may not be a wide receiver off the board at that point at 6. So I think if you see the game changer, you
Okay,
gotta go.
so then the national question is, Golem, do you see a game changer? In your opinion, forget about the pundits, we'll talk about them. In your opinion, is there a game changing wide receiver in this draft?
Well, we've spent a lot of time watching Carnell Tate down from, just because he's 2 hours down the road. I've seen a lot of him, and I can't help but think, right, that he's one of those guys. And plus, I mean, the Ohio State lineage of wide receivers, like all the guys I just mentioned are all from Ohio State. So just to hear that lineage and be like, he's the next one up, he's the next NFL wide receiver. And we can have this conversation later. Maybe I don't think it's for now, but is like, I've seen the conversation. Who's wide receiver you? LSU or
Come
Ohio
on,
State?
we know.
And right now, I think it's got to be Ohio
We know
State.
it's Ohio State.
It's got to
We
be.
know it's Ohio State. And I like Cardinal Tate too. I like him. He's got good hands. He's a good route runner, professional. You just mentioned 2 hours down the road. Folks, he's going to know Ohio weather, right? Not to mention sales for jerseys and stuff like that. But that's, excuse me, but we are just talking about how badly they need a left tackle. And I think that's really the crutch, right, of this draft is Tate that game changer at 6? I just mentioned all the beautiful traits of him, but of course, Golem, you know who Tate was lined up opposite on the other side of the field, right? And so you know that Tate was not getting the double coverage like Smith was over in Ohio State. So I'm not trying to take anything away from Tate. I think he's great and wonderful, but you just said it, my friend. You said a game changer, that type of elite passer. He seems to have all those components, but we cannot forget that he was not the number one wide receiver at OSU last year. So I think that's a great segment to go into what some of the national pundits have been talking about, right, folks? I mean, you can watch ESPN, you can see what Todd McShay says and all these other folks, but you come here to get Gome and the professors, right, the local guys. So, Gome, who did you see from the national pundits that you thought either one way or the other had a good idea or was totally off the mark?
Well, when we talk about national pundits, I can't help but laugh. The main thing I see between all of them is the cookie cutter, right? They're all the same, and they all have us taking, all but one that I've seen has us taking a tackle at 6. Mostly, I mean, and what the tackle is, that does
Mm-hmm.
vary. Spencer Fanoff, Francis Mawanoa, Caden Proctor. I don't know if there's a Monroe Freeling on here. I think
Yeah.
NBC Sports has Monroe Freeling. I think
No,
Kuiper
I
had
think it
Monroe
was Field
Freeling too.
Yates. Field Yates has been a fan of Monroe Fielding this whole time, and I just confirmed it. Yeah, it was. But you're absolutely right. I'm looking at a bunch of them. They're all saying offensive tackle, which just goes to prove how great of a question that was to you, Go. Offensive tackle or wide receiver? Which one of these guys got it right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think, and this again, this is what I think is going to happen. What I want to happen. Again, completely different things, because what I think might happen is neither.
Mic drop. Are you telling me that you're thinking the Browns might pick a defensive guy after last year our first two guys were defense? Or are you thinking what a lot of people kind of been whispering that there might be a trade?
Yeah, yeah, if there's a trade, I do think tackle. That's what I do think. If there is a trade, if they stay at 6, I think that there could be an upset of the apple cart. I think that they could kind of just go where no one thinks that they're going to go to. And that's all goes back to what Andrew Barry said this last week about how he says that he looks at the public discourse on what the team needs are, and that's not necessarily what he's going to do. So to me, that means one of two things. The first one is, hey, we're looking to trade back, so we want to make sure that everyone else thinks that we're going to be picking something else, and so that that incentivizes them to trade with us. Or two, they may just be doing the best player available. Now that's a huge discussion that I've had with several people over the last few days. Is when you're sitting in the NFL mock draft, or actual draft, when you're sitting in the NFL chair and you get to pick who is going to be on your team, do you pick for team need, or do you pick for best player available? Now, Andrew Barry this last week gave an argument that he might be looking at best player available. Now, when you do that and you look at what best player available could be on the board at 6, it might be a wide receiver. It might be, but it also might be a safety. It could be Caleb Downs. It could be Sonny Styles. If Jeremiah Love, I think he's gone by then, but if Jeremiah Love is available at 6.
No, absolutely. No, I heard Barry say that. And, Barry, of course, last year, you remember the unicorn, right? The unicorn, nobody would ever give up the unicorn. And then, of course, we did for that phenomenal trade package. But here's my point. Last year's draft, our offense needed help. And there was no question about it. Last year, Barry knew how significant it was going to be to revamp our offensive line last year. He made that trade, and the first two picks were defense. Now, I am not complaining. I thought Mason Graham did a much better job than a lot of the national pundits are talking about. And obviously, Carson Schwetzinger, defensive player, the rookie of the year. And by the way, folks, only 1 year as linebacker. Remember that when we're talking about draft. And do you want Monroe Freeling at left tackle because he only did 1 year versus Proctor over in Alabama? I believe he did 3 years. So all that's kind of relevant, right, Gom?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What I think too, he also brought up is that how everyone thought that they were not going to trade down last year, and then they did, and of course shocked everybody because, oh my gosh, we passed on Travis Hunter, who is now a full-time cornerback, right? He's not, maybe some trick plays on offense as a wide receiver, but kind of looking back, wow, I think we won that trade.
Yes, I definitely think
So
we won the trade. He was having a great year until he got hurt, right? So I think we missed the last few games. But Jacksonville obviously did pretty good to give us the 24th pick. So a trade could absolutely be happening. There's no doubt about it. You were talking about Barry, and I think a few days before that, he was quoted as saying, "I don't even know if we're going to have the number six pick," which goes back to a possible trade. And we were kind of touching on the national pundits. Gomes, you know that one of the national pundits predicted a trade and is still sticking with the trade. Do you like it? Can you tell us what it is? And do you like it? Would you go for
yeah, so I think what what Kuiper has us projected as doing is trading with the Cowboys. So he has us at 6, and then I'm sorry, dropping
it?
back from
12,
6 to
yeah.
12, and then picking up the 20th and keeping the 24th. So he has us having 3 first round draft picks this year.
And giving, I'm sorry to
And then
interrupt.
with the
I'm sorry.
third,
And Dallas, right, gets our 39 because Dallas doesn't have a second draft, right? So we get
yeah,
three, but we lose our second.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So he has us taking a cornerback. I don't have it here. Mansour, I believe. He has us taking a cornerback at 24, but taking a Monroe Freeling and a wide receiver then right after that.
Okay, so offensive tackle Monroe Freeling, which is considered quite possibly the best left tackle. A little young, a little undersized, but could grow into it. Boston, I think you said, was the wide receiver. He's supposed to be what, top 4 or 5,
But yeah, it was
right?
Boston.
And then a cornerback, right? I mean, I think we all agree we love Denzel Ward, right? And Campbell seems to be solid, especially at his price point because he's still under the rookie contract. But go,
Jermod
McCoy, thank you,
McCoy.
thank you.
Sorry.
So, but that's defense going, but that's three first rounders, right? Would you rather have maybe another offensive tackle, or do you think, I don't know, isn't he's one of the best cornerbacks? So that's tough.
Yeah, and Luke Easterling on his mock draft, he has the same draft, the same trade, I should say. So with what he has us picking, he has us picking Spencer Fanow at 12, 20 Denver. I'm sorry, Denzel Boston at 20, and then 24 Caleb Lomu. So I think Caleb Lomu is actually a natural left tackle.
Well, that would be interesting.
And I think yeah,
That would be interesting.
and that's what I don't get too, especially a lot of looking at a lot of these national pundits and their mock drafts. There's a lot of Spencer Fanows being picked at number 6,
Which is weird because
and
he's
I
considered the best offensive lineman. I get that, but not left.
right, he's a natural right tackle, and then I saw in one of the explanations is that he's a natural right tackle. And because we picked Jared Wilkes and moved him from right tackle to left tackle, this is why they think that they're going to take Spencer Fanow. And I was like, but it did it work? I don't think it worked. In my opinion, it
No,
didn't
there's.
work. So I don't know if you'd want to
I
try
don't
that
think there's
again.
any question, but I do think Fano, his first year he played left tackle, and then moved over to right tackle. So I think there's a little bit of that. But I'm not gonna lie, if you go, I remember that Cedric Wills pick. I remember Tampa Bay picking shortly after us, and they got a left tackle that I think has been to the Pro Bowl a couple of times. So I don't even want to come close. I'm with you, Gome. Left tackle. Did you play it in college? Then you're in the conversation. Nothing against Fano. In fact, if we hadn't just paid somebody a ton of money to be the right tackle, right, maybe we would pick him. But that goes into, again, thinking about long term. I got to remind everybody that the great John Madden once said that it takes an offensive line like 2 years of playing together before they really know each other. All four of our guys have come from different teams. They haven't played together. And now we're going to draft possibly a rookie left tackle. Folks, we may be in for some growing pains with the offensive line, and it may benefit us to pick more than one offensive lineman. So I wouldn't be totally upset if they did that. So going, why don't we just get to the nitty gritty, man? We talked a little bit about Kuiper and Gates and all those other kind of things. We talked about left tackle, wide receiver. Going, why don't we just get to it, man? What would you like to see the Browns do in the first round of draft?
What I would like to see the Browns trade
Trade
down.
down.
I would like to see that. Yeah, I would love to see my dream, well, I don't know if this is my dream pick because I would, just I would love to see that wide receiver that can just run circles around everybody. But what I'm feeling is I'm feeling Browns trade down. I'm kind of what Monroe Freeling. I would love to see him be here. And then with 24, I would love to see Casey Concepcion. I've heard great things about him. I heard that he's could be the best wide receiver in the draft, and that he could fall to 24 or 20, I guess, depending on what we get for the trade. That's ultimately, I think, the two players that I would like to see in a Browns uniform come tomorrow at a news conference, holding up the number
There
one
you
jerseys.
go. There you go. Okay, so you're talking about number one left tackle, possibly the number one wide receiver for the first round. That'd be a pretty nice haul. Again, because I'm a little nervous about the other teams picking up an offensive tackle, and we're going to do a mock simulator here, right, Gome, on Happy Hour in the Land, just to see how it all works out. Before we do that, Gome, you just told us what you think would be a good draft. Why don't we just go blue sky here? Would that be a great draft? And if not, what would be a great draft? Because what it sounded like to you, what I would be super happy with what you said. But is there, Andrew Berry blew it out of the water last year. What would be like a dream scenario where everyone in Cleveland, everyone across the nation would be like, gosh darn it, the Browns did it again. They crushed it. What would that have to look like?
Well, besides us making a trade for any of the great quarterbacks already currently in the league, I think that what I personally would love to see, this is my pie in the sky, is that if they do trade down and say with the Cowboys or the Rams at 12 or 13, and we drop back that far, like I said, Kuiper and Luke Easterling has us picking up another first round pick this year. What I would like to see is another first rounder next year. That's what I would love to see. That would be my ultimate. I think that would put the icing on the cake. Honestly, with last year's draft, I think this year if we kind of pick the guys that we're talking about, we trade down and then we get another first round pick next year.
Whoa, so that would be amazing, right? To get the guys that we need, starting left tackle, is that what we're saying? A starting left tackle go? And a stud wide receiver. Doesn't have to be Superman, right? But a stud wide receiver, and then a number one next year to help with quarterback savvy class, just in case, right? Go just in case this guy named Shador doesn't pan out. By the way, did you see he changed his number from 12 to 2?
Yeah, yeah. And I thought about all the people that bought those jerseys this last year, and that they're now wearing the number 12 jersey.
I have a number 12 jersey. I think that's why he said that, folks, because he knows I got the number 12 jersey. I got a good deal, but good for Shador.
Let's get some brown paint the
No,
one.
we're not going to turn it into another Tim Couch quarterback. The quarterback jersey part did.
There you go.
All right, go. I'm excited about us doing a quick little mock simulator. But before we do that, so I know what I hope to avoid, we talked about what you think would be a good draft. We talked about what you think would be an excellent draft. Which, by the way, yeah, I love it. I love that. By the way, what do you absolutely hope not to see? What would be an utter failure? One or the other. Let's go the opposite spectrum. What are we trying to avoid at all costs? But
I don't know. It's really, really tough for me to say that if I see something tonight that I'm going to think it's an utter failure because I don't. No one knows what the future holds for these draft picks. But I think the thing I mentioned earlier is I don't want to see Spencer Fanow be drafted at number 6 or 12 or whatever. I don't want to see Spencer Fanow being drafted to the Browns. Could it work? Possibly, but that's one thing. Again, we saw it a couple years ago. I don't want to see it again. So that's one thing I'm hoping not to see. Now I will switch gears and I will say what I talked about earlier about if we're picking at 6 and they pick best player available, Cleveland fans' heads will explode because the national pundits, the local pundits, everyone's been talking. We need left tackle, or a wide receiver. And if they don't take that, I think Cleveland's fans, I don't think they can wrap their head around the fact that we just took best player available. We need a left tackle. So I think that will be pandemonium if they do not take one of these guys in the first round. And I think it's a possibility. So I just
And
wanted
you're
to point
saying it's a
that out.
possibility, not just because you're a Cleveland fan, right, Gome, but because you can literally see this happening, right? Because Andrew Berry just said
Yeah.
best
Yeah.
available. And last year, the best available were two defensive guys. And again, of the two that you picked, but wow, was that a rough offense. So you really think, not just because it makes good TV or whatever, right? But this is Cleveland. And Barry said best available, and watch out, it could be a defensive guy.
Yeah, because you remember when we were watching the draft last year, and that everyone on the draft was saying, "Hey guys, we need a wide receiver," and it never came. It never came, and they were saying this last year. So I think that's a possibility that he just looks at best player available or best best value, like a Fanning was. Fanning was a great value for what we got. Yeah, and we may not see it. We may not see it. He just looks at best player available and moves on from there.
Wow. Well, that is pretty uh, upsetting to think about. That's for sure. But again, I'm with you. I wouldn't put it past him. Now, I got a scenario for you, though, right? As we were talking about this, I was thinking to myself, boy, what would be the worst? And as you came up with, again, let's not have a Cedric Willis issue again. I couldn't agree with you more. But one popped in my head that's been talked about in the last year or so that I think is ridiculous. And I think the fans might just be just as upset is if the Browns did something like a draft night trade of Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
I don't want to see them trying to outthink themselves. We're going to get Myles Garrett. We'll get this, that. I don't want to see it. I know Myles Garrett would be valuable. I know he's getting older. But we've just been through this, right? 2 years, right? Last year they gave him the bump. This year we made a trade, not a trade, I apologize. We made some changes to his contract, right? So we could trade him. So what I don't want to see is a draft night trade of Myles Garrett because I don't have the faith that you're going to get anybody really to replace him. That would be my let's hope not to see it. Now, Gome, are you ready?
Yeah, I
Please go
mean,
ahead. Yes.
no, I'd say, right now I do think that our defense is stellar, the way it is. If we pick up a Sonny Styles, I think it gets that much better. Uh, or Caleb Downs. But I think our defense is doing pretty good. So if we can just adjust the offense a little bit, I think they have a better chance at winning. If you take Myles Garrett off, no matter what draft picks we get back, this year's a wash.
And isn't that what we're trying to
This year's
avoid?
a
I'm
wash.
sorry.
And
Isn't that what we're trying to avoid? Is this wash? Isn't it what we're trying to say? It's like, no, let's give Shador, if he's going to start, let's give him a real shot, right? Let's give him a real shot. Let's give him a little protection. Let's give him a real weapon. I like that. I like that.
yeah, and one thing that we can talk about later. We don't really have to talk about right now, but it's talking about the guy that we just got rid of that did all
Uh,
the Moneyball moves. The guy that was from Moneyball, Paul
yeah.
DePodesta. He gave an interview and confirmed some of the things I was thinking about what happened with the Browns in the past and in their draft strategies and stuff like that. So we can talk about that later because I think that is something that we should get into. Maybe on our next episode, we
Now,
can
is
talk
this
about
is
that.
this a
But
new one, Gomes?
just
Because I know when he went over to Colorado, right? They got him like first couple of days, and I absolutely remember what he said. Is that what you're talking about, or has he come out again?
he was on a podcast this last
Then we
week
definitely got to talk
and
about
talked
that.
about some
But you're
things
right, not
and talked about
maybe not tonight, right? It's
yeah
draft night. We got enough, and I want to do this mock draft for folks at home, right? We got the draft simulator. We got Gome here, and we're only going to do the first 3 rounds because goodness knows we've got other things to do, and we could definitely talk football all night. Okay, Gome. So here we are. We're the Cleveland Browns. We're pick number 6. We're going to go 3 rounds, and here we are to load the draft. We're going to start the draft, and I don't
who the
think it's
Raiders
any
going to
big
pick.
surprise, right, for the quarterback. But here we go, Gome. You've got Francis Mauigoa, right, from Miami, outside tackle. Caleb Downs, Ruben Bain Jr., Makai Lemon, who's rising on the boards, wide receiver. Jordan Tyson and Carnell Tate is there. Monroe Freeling is there, and of course Proctor is there. So who should we take? Who do you think we should take with the first pick in the first round?
This is tough.
Well, you got your choices:
So the
Carnell
first one's
Tate,
Francis
Monroe
Mono.
Freeling, like we said. I'm sorry. Go ahead, boss.
It all depends. Again, are we drafting? We can draft for team need. We can draft for best player available. Which, if it's best player available, I would take Caleb Downs in this spot. Uh,
Okay, man, but this is the million
but
dollar
if
question,
it's,
bro. Right? What would Golden take?
I probably would take Caleb Downs.
Caleb Downs. Okay, folks, you heard it here. After all our talk about left tackle, wide receiver, Gomes says, "Give me best player available with Caleb Downs."
Well, again, I would trade down if I could. I would trade
Okay,
down if
so
I could.
barring any trades, right? We'll say that.
Yes.
Okay, so here we are at
Yes.
24, right? You got a safety, and our number one player is Akeem Mesador, an edge from Miami. Now, if you're looking for wide receivers, who do we still have left? Denzel Boston, Zachariah Branch, Chris Brazel, and they go from there. If you're looking for
Okay, C's
offensive
gone.
tackles, it's Caleb
Caleb
Lamu
Lomu.
from Utah, ranked 28, and behind him is Jennings Dunker, outside tackle from Iowa, who's rated 31, a 23-point drop.
Oh, so it would be between Lomu and Lamu, however we say it,
Sure, Lamu and
in Boston. So it'd be between those two guys.
okay, so Boston's 23. This is Gomes' pick, right? What would he do? Boston's 23, and I think Lamu is what is that 28?
Yeah, I would take the tackle.
You would take. I'm sorry.
Because he's a left tackle. He's a tackle. I would take. He was a left
Okay,
tackle. I'd
taking
take
our
him.
left tackle with pick number 24. Now we just got two more picks going. We got one in the second round and one in the third round. So this is pick number 39. We've got safety. We've got offensive tackle. And if you're looking for a wide receiver, my friend, the best available. Oh, Zachariah Branch at 40. Or we could do best available, whatever you want. Who would you pick going for our number 39 pick?
So is that a DB Chase?
The first, Brandon Chase is cornerback from South Carolina. Ranked number, I believe that's 38.
Ooh, and Ty Simpson is there.
Yeah, I'm not sure Ty Simpson's going to make it this far,
Zachariah
but in this
Branch.
mock draft, he has.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah. Talk about Ty Simpson. It's been crazy watching his draft stock go up and down because I mean he went from about now he like maybe available to this spot, but being possibly a number in the top 5 to middle of the first round, and now he's back to this possibly being available in the
Yes,
second
sir.
round. It's just been crazy watching that. And Zachariah Branch
Yes,
from
sir. He
Georgia.
is there.
Yeah, let's go with him.
Zachariah Branch from Georgia. I like that. Had a little injury, right? But everybody seems to think that he's going to be just fine. And to pick him up in the second round, I think is a great pick, though. So you've got best player available, super stud, safety. You got a left tackle. You got a wide receiver. Gome, this is going to be our last pick in this mock draft here. At the top is a linebacker. Wouldn't be terrible to have a stud next to Schlesinger. Then it goes defensive tackle and tight end from
Ooh.
the Ohio State are the top 3.
Tight end is the tight end is interesting because we lost the Chief. We picked up a blocking tight end, so we might need another one. But I probably would go linebacker here. Trotter.
Trotter
Yeah,
from
Trotter.
Missouri. Give Schlesinger and those guys in the middle some love. And that is our first 3 rounds. Now, the system's going to finish this up here, and then we can ask it for a grade. But Gome, is this what grade Oh, before I scroll down, what grade would you give us? Or you, my friend, Caleb Downs, superstar safety, Caleb Lamu, left tackle, Zachariah Branch, and the linebacker from Missouri, Josiah Trotter. What letter grade would you give that?
Ah, I'd give that a I'd give that a B
B
plus.
plus. Okay, you know what? You must have been reading my mind. Caleb Downs, best available safety. Would we need a safety? I love that pick. I like Lemu. Obviously, he's not one of our top three, but I like him. But you know what I really like, Go, is you got Zachariah Branch in the second round. So you got your left tackle, you got a stud wide receiver, and a linebacker, important picks, and of course Caleb Downs. So let's see what the system is going to grade your draft. Only a B. So there you go, Gome. We are
Ah,
obviously smarter than ESPN. You should know that all by because it was a B plus pick. They obviously don't know how long we've been working on a safety or how long we've needed one, right? Okay, Gomes. So we got what do we need? What will look good? What's a dream scenario? What are we trying to avoid? And we did a mock draft. My friend, I'm excited about the draft. Is there anything else we should talk about? God knows we could probably talk forever and ever, but anything else pressing on your mind about the draft?
no, I'm just excited. I can't wait for this because I did a mock draft. I'll put that on our Facebook page or something. Click here for for our Facebook page or any of our other avenues that you can watch us and see us. So like, subscribe, whatever you want to do to make sure you're closer to us because we like you. We want you to hang around. But yeah, I'll probably put that out there on our Facebook page just so somebody, people can see it. And then we're gonna on our next show we'll grade how I did against Kuiper and all these other national pundits. Yeah, should I redo it though? Should I do a mock? Should I do a 2.0 and kind of do what the chaos theory that I was talking about? I don't know. That's gonna
Well,
be a
you
tough
can
one.
do it,
But
right? In that mock simulator, you can do trades. And by the way, you can force trades. The system will say, "Oh, that other team would never go for it," but there's a little button going that says, "You know what? We're going to force that trade." So that could be some exciting, right, to see your second one. But will you do it before tonight's draft? You'll have to stay tuned, folks, to Happy Hour. And
yeah, I can't wait to see what happens because I can't wait to see what players out there join our family tree for the Cleveland Browns. I'm just excited. I can't wait because in Andrew Berry I trust. If he does this trade as well as he did the last trade, when everyone else out there was going, Fannin who, Schlesinger who, and then they came back and dominated. So if he can pull this off, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt until I can see it on the field and then grade him from there. And I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what comes next in the Browns.
well, I am too. Couldn't have said it any better. Excited for what comes up and excited for what else we can offer you and talk about here on Happy Hour in the Lane. Go, if there's nothing else, how about we cheers this and get ready for the 2026 NFL Draft? Here's to you, my friend.
Here's to you and the Browns. Good luck tonight. I hope you do well. Thank you for joining us. I hope you guys enjoy the draft as well. I hope it's a magical, magical evening for all of us. And I hope the Steelers pick all NFL busts. So,
Absolutely.
so again, this is Happy Hour in the Land. I'm Gomer. That's the professor. We'll see you guys next time. See ya.